A ferocious assault was launched by China against a United States Navy cargo vessel. The devastating attack began at precisely 5:12 in the morning local time. China unleashed 6 YJ-18 supersonic missiles, 30 kamikaze drones, and 1 heavy torpedo, all directed at the USNS Providence, a massive 95,000-ton supply ship belonging to the US Navy. For the majority of naval forces around the world, such an attack would represent a catastrophic disaster. However, America's defensive systems sprang into action. SM-6 interceptors launched skyward while Sea Sparrows and Phalanx guns ripped the drones apart, turning them into massive fireballs. The ocean shook with violent explosions. 7 crew members sustained injuries and the steel hull was dented, yet the vessel remained intact. In less than 60 minutes, the situation reversed completely. The United States launched a powerful counterattack. Tomahawk missiles screamed from submarine positions as F-35C fighters and B-2 Spirit stealth bombers sliced through the darkness carrying bunker-busting ordnance. The waters roared with American retaliation as devastating firepower rained down upon China. How is it possible for America's defensive shield to endure destruction coming from 3 separate directions? And what terrible price will those who challenge the United States be forced to pay? Keep watching and remember to like, share, and subscribe so you will not miss the complete story. September 14th, 2025. At 5:12 in the morning, the South China Sea appeared deceptively peaceful. Located 110 nautical miles to the east of the Spratly Islands, the United States Navy supply ship cut through the waters maintaining a steady speed of 16 knots. At an initial look, the vessel resembled nothing more than a typical cargo freighter, yet within its hull sat nearly $180 million worth of fuel, medical supplies, and replacement parts. This cargo represented the essential lifeblood for American allies throughout the region. Each loaded pallet symbolized a crucial lifeline for over 2,200 Allied troops who were struggling to maintain their positions. Following 10 miles behind, the destroyer USS Farragut maintained vigilant watch. 300 sailors remained on guard duty with their Aegis combat system continuously scanning the surrounding area. On the surface, this convoy appeared to be standard logistics operations. In truth, it was a high-value target moving through waters under dispute. Beijing understood this fact, Washington understood this fact, and somewhere beneath the surface, an ambush was already taking shape. At exactly 5:17 in the morning, the tranquility shattered completely. Rising from the depths, a heavyweight torpedo surged upward, its wake remaining invisible under the waves. Targeting Farragut's side, it closed the gap within seconds. The destroyer turned sharply as the rudder swung hard over. Countermeasures launched and warning alarms screamed. The torpedo sliced past the hull, detonating harmlessly in the water behind the stern, close enough to shake bulkheads and jolt every sailor to full alertness. From the deck of a Chinese-type Zhou-54A frigate hiding just beyond the radar's reach, 6 YJ-18 supersonic anti-ship missiles launched, their exhaust flames slashing across the dawn sky. Each missile packed a 660-pound warhead and traveled at Mach 3, fast enough to traverse 1 mile in under 2 seconds. Accompanying the missiles, a massive swarm of 30 kamikaze drones, each loaded with explosives, spread out low over the sea, skimming barely 50 feet above the water surface. For the Chinese commanders, the strategy was straightforward. Overwhelming firepower would crush American defenses, leaving the supply ship ablaze and the destroyer disabled. On the radar displays of the Farragut, red symbols multiplied at a terrifying rate. The Combat Information Center transitioned from peaceful green status to a violent storm of crimson in under 10 seconds. Warning sirens wailed throughout the ship. Sailors bolted awake, jumping from their bunks and racing to their battle stations. Above the chaos, the voice of the officer of the deck rang out sharply. Enemy strike is incoming. This is not a drill exercise. Brace yourselves for impact. The attack was surgical in its timing, merciless in its purpose, and overwhelming in its magnitude. Over 30 incoming threats were converging on a single convoy. Missiles, drones, and precision-guided devastation, all approaching at nearly 2,300 miles per hour. For the vast majority of naval forces, this would have marked the end before anything began. But the United States Navy was far from an ordinary military force. In fewer than 30 seconds, the command would be issued and the most sophisticated defensive shield on the planet would activate. Can the most advanced defensive shield in the world halt threats approaching from 3 separate directions in under 90 seconds? Share your thoughts in the comments section and do not forget to like and subscribe. 5:19 in the morning, the destroyer USS Farragut transformed into the Pulse of Survival. Within its combat information center, sailors in darkened compartments focused on screens illuminated with crimson indicators. The command came without any hesitation. Captain Jonathan Reeves, the commanding officer of the ship, shouted into the communication system, "All batteries, engage every inbound threat. Nothing is permitted through right away." From the vertical launch cells of the Farragut, 24 SM-6 interceptors blasted into the atmosphere, each valued at more than $4 million, ascending at velocities exceeding Mach 3.5. They curved upward and then plunged like predatory birds, colliding head-on with the approaching YJ-8s. In fewer than 70 seconds, 4 out of the 6 missiles were transformed into massive fireballs in the night sky. The second defensive layer activated. Evolved Sea Sparrow missiles burst from the launching rails, smaller and faster, engineered to catch whatever penetrated through. 2 additional detonations illuminated the horizon. The YJ-18 assault wave was finished, completely annihilated before any missile could reach the convoy. But the threat was not eliminated. The swarm of 30 drones continued forward, flying just above the water surface. They transported a combined explosive load of nearly 5,000 pounds, sufficient to tear the Providence into pieces. The ship's phalanx close-in weapon systems thundered to life. 6-barrel Gatling cannons rotated at 4,500 rounds each minute. The night atmosphere transformed into a tempest of tungsten projectiles. In just under 3 minutes, 26 out of the 30 drones were obliterated, plunging into the ocean as flaming debris. The final 4 broke through, diving toward the supply vessel. One crashed into a deck crane, sparking flames, but leaving the cargo hold undamaged. The other exploded against the hull, bending steel, but keeping the ship afloat. 7 sailors sustained injuries, 3 suffering severe burns, yet the vessel remained operational. Out of 30 incoming threats, 26 had been eliminated completely. Damage was minimal when compared to what could have been the total annihilation of the entire convoy. For any other naval fleet, this would have represented the conclusion. But the United States Navy possessed the most advanced defensive shield on the planet. 26 out of 30 threats eliminated. America's defensive capabilities proved themselves unparalleled. But what is your opinion? Should the United States only defend itself or retaliate with greater force? Share your thoughts below. 5:40 in the morning. The command came through calm and definitive. Execute counterstrike operations. What had been defensive action 1 minute earlier now transformed into a concentrated, ruthless offensive. The carriers, submarines, and strike aircraft moved with practiced velocity, a choreographed reaction refined over many decades. Within minutes, launching protocols cascaded across the fleet. Carriers activated flight decks. Submarines recalculated firing solutions. At 5:52 in the morning, 2 Virginia-class submarines submerged beneath the dark waters and opened the engagement. From silent depths, they released a coordinated barrage of 12 Tomahawk cruise missiles, low-flying long-range weapons, each carrying a multi-million-dollar cost. The initial wave targeted fixed radar installations and the frigate sensor array that had directed the morning assault. At the same time, from the flight deck of the nearby aircraft carrier, 5 F-35C Lightning II fighters accelerated into their mission. Strike the attacking frigate and neutralize any supporting coastal radars. They transported precision bombs and standoff missiles, a combined weapons load valued at approximately $50 million. 6:01 in the morning, an enemy electronic countermeasure system swept across the operational area, temporarily blinding multiple satellite signals and disrupting targeting for 3 full minutes. Pilots and targeting officers shifted to infrared and visual guidance, a demonstration that even the finest systems can face challenges. Still, adaptability prevailed. The submarine launched Tomahawks reacquired hardened targets and struck with surgical precision. By 6:05 in the morning, the first smart munitions had impacted. The frigate's radar dome was shredded and its missile controls were knocked offline. At 6:20 in the morning, the results were staggering. 3 enemy surface combat vessels, including the frigate that initiated the attack, were rendered unable to fight, either immobilized in the water or listing dangerously. The strike had also demolished the local drone control facility on shore, destroying approximately 30 or more launch and relay stations that supported the kamikaze swarm. Total munitions expended during this phase approached roughly $1.6 billion. Human casualties and damage were contained on the United States side. The supply ship stayed afloat, and the escort destroyer remained operational, though bearing battle damage. The attacking flotilla, in stark contrast, could not recover rapidly. Multiple support vessels withdrew, command connections were broken, and their capacity to regroup for another assault completely collapsed. By 6:45 in the morning, satellite imagery displayed burning areas where coastal radars and launch shelters once stood. The confused confusion of war cleared into an undeniable reality. The attackers had surrendered the advantage. What started as a bold assault on a single convoy had transformed into a devastating counter-operation that stripped the enemy of the capability to strike again. The conditions were established for the final decisive phase, a precision deep strike to guarantee those launch facilities could not be reconstructed overnight. Ready for the decisive strike? Hit subscribe and the notification bell. Next, America converts defense into a crippling counter-offensive. Do not miss the firepower. 7:10 in the morning. The immediate danger at sea was neutralized. Now arrived the decisive phase, a strike that would guarantee China could not restore its launch capability overnight. From the depths, the Virginia-class submarines USS Illinois and USS Missouri prepared a second assault wave. Hatches opened. In fewer than 2 minutes, 24 Tomahawk Block 5 cruise missiles launched skyward, each transporting a 1,000-pound warhead. Their objectives were hardened coastal missile batteries and a drone facility constructed within reinforced hangars. The expense of this barrage alone surpassed $300 million, but the potential strategic gain was far greater, silencing the very infrastructure that had powered the attack. At 7:22 in the morning, radar detected another set of assets approaching. 2 B-2 Spirit stealth bombers, invisible to most detection systems, had departed from Guam. Each transported the heaviest weapon in the United States arsenal. GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators, 30,000 pounds each, capable of penetrating through 200 feet of reinforced concrete. 16 in total, worth over $1 billion, were targeted on underground missile silos and command bunkers. 7:35 in the morning, the sky erupted. Tomahawks slammed into coastal radars, destroying billion-dollar installations in flashes of fire. Seconds afterward, the B-2s released their payload. The ground itself trembled as the bunker busters punched deep into mountainsides. Then arrived the chain reactions. Underground fuel storage ignited, silos crumbled, and massive fireballs erupted, carving craters more than 300 feet across. By 7:50 in the morning, satellite imagery confirmed the destruction. 65% of local anti-ship missile installations destroyed. 3 radar domes leveled. 1 drone launch complex was completely eliminated. Secondary explosions illuminated the coastline for miles. The losses were catastrophic. In under 40 minutes, America had erased years of military development worth billions. The once formidable coastal defensive shield was now a burning wasteland. On the deck of the USS Farragut, the communication from command was transmitted. Mission accomplished. Enemy launch capacity devastated. Billions lost. Defensive systems shattered. But what occurs next? Will the consequences reshape the region? Share this video and let us know your prediction. By noon local time, the ocean was peaceful again. What commenced as a pre-dawn ambush had concluded in a crushing blow that reshaped the strategic landscape for weeks, perhaps years to follow. First, the hard statistics that tell the story clearly. In fewer than 9 hours of combat, assessments calculated the attackers' losses at more than $4.2 billion in equipment. 2 surface combat vessels, the damaged frigate and a corvette, declared unable to fight and likely removed from operations for months. An estimated 45 to 60 drones destroyed across ocean and shore. 65% of local coastal anti-ship missile batteries rendered non-operational. 3 high-value radar domes and 1 major drone control complex leveled. Widespread infrastructure destruction. Fuel storage depots and hardened shelters blown into craters 300 or more feet across. On the American and Allied side, the count was dramatically smaller. The USNS Providence suffered localized structural damage and loss of 1 high-value pallet of supplies, estimated at $180,000. 7 sailors received treatment for burns and shock, and the escort destroyer carried superficial battle damage but remained fully operational. No ships were lost. In under 9 hours, the financial accounting told its own story. America had expended approximately $3 billion in defensive interceptors, Tomahawk barrages, and bomber operations. The attackers, in stark contrast, suffered over $4.2 billion in crippling losses. Warships disabled, radars eliminated, drone facilities annihilated, and missile batteries transformed into burning ruins. Washington spent less, but destroyed far more. The human casualties on the attacker's side remained the subject of numerous competing reports. Battlefield circumstances made precise counts challenging, but multiple intelligence assessments indicated hundreds of military personnel either wounded, captured, or killed in the coastal strike areas. Whether those figures are final, they were substantial enough to disrupt local command and demoralize the fleet. Diplomacy moved at the velocity of crisis. Within hours, 2 regional partners opened ports and airfields for emergency resupply and humanitarian assistance. A formal declaration from Allied capitals condemned the strike on a logistics vessel and pledged increased escort operations in the region. A coordinated sanctions package and temporary restrictions on defense cooperation with the attacker's key suppliers were publicly discussed within 24 hours. Militarily, the consequences were immediate and practical. Supply routes, the very arteries that keep allies fed, fueled, and armed, were secured with additional assets and new escort protocols. Convoys now traveled under larger protective coverage, additional destroyers, constant air patrols, and prepositioned submarine deterrence. Insurance premiums and shipping expenses surged overnight. Economists estimated billions more annually in regional maritime security costs. Strategically, the attack failed spectacularly. The attacker attempted to intimidate and disrupt a single supply route. Instead, it found itself stripped of the very assets that had made the gamble conceivable. Its carrier-killer posture was publicly humiliated. Internationally neutral states that once tolerated coercion now expressed concern. Political isolation, not dominance, became the immediate outcome. The battle demonstrated one truth. When America operates at sea, it operates with unmatched strength. Supply routes that feed allies are protected by the most advanced defensive shield on the planet. And when challenged, that shield transforms into a weapon of devastating precision. In just hours, the United States Navy converted an enemy ambush into a crushing defeat worth billions. No naval fleet on the planet can equal this combination of resilience, speed, and overwhelming firepower. America's strength lies not only in weapons, but in discipline, training, and the courage of sailors who refuse to break under fire. Logistics lifelines were preserved, allies were reassured, and adversaries were forced to confront a reality. America does not surrender. Do you believe America should strike even harder in the future? Share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of United States strength.